My name is Coleby Clawson. I'm a physical therapist and I'm the Director of Health and Performance for BYU football. The reasons we wanted to bring in the KT360 to BYU football were several reasons. One was for screening our players, one was for monitoring our players and testing our players, and then the KT360 also helps us train our players with specific conditions. With screening specifically, we wanted to do a better job of screening our athletes previous to play, so we could look at asymmetries and look at any weaknesses that they had, so we could close the gap on some of those weaknesses and hopefully prevent injuries. Basically 3 tiers of screening that we're going to do with the KT360. So one is based on injuries that we see a lot. So we see a lot of soft tissue injuries around the hip complex. So we want to screen those prior to them participating in football so that we can see any weaknesses and see any asymmetries that we may need to work on. The other way is by position. So there's certain positions on the field that just see different stressors. So for example, our quarterbacks, they throw the ball a lot, so they'll see a lot of stress on their shoulders. We want to test those and screen those based on different positions that'll see different stressors on their body. And then the last way we're going to use the KT360 to screen our players is by previous injury history. So even if they feel healthy right now, we want to take these guys with a previous injury history and test those soft tissues and monitor those pretty frequently so we can make sure that those previously injured tissues are staying strong and staying resilient to the stresses that they're going to see on the field. One of the best features of the KT360 is its usability. Both the hardware and the software were very easy to use. It basically came out of the box. There were only a couple of steps to set it up. With every testing position, it only takes a second to set up, and the software actually helps you set up every testing position. And you can even save athlete profiles so that when you go to retest your athlete, you're being very consistent. Probably our main reason for getting the Kanga Tech and bringing it in was to get some of that objective data on our athletes for screening and monitoring it. There's evidence-based training protocols that are built into the KT. So not only can we test our athletes, but then we can do something about it.
I'm Terrence Motley. I am a physical therapist and I am the Director of Rehabilitation here for BYU football. The KT360 has been really useful with our return to play decisions. We like to go based off of a milestone and kind of criterion-based return to play. And so by using the KT360, we can assure that the guys are hitting those milestones. And especially with a high-level sport such as football, we have really high standards of what these guys need to achieve before they get back on the field. And so using the KT360 has been a really streamlined way to make sure that they are achieving those standards and getting back to exactly where they need to be before we send them back into the field of play. What's great about the KT360 is we can prophylactically kind of take care of some of these issues that crop up in rehab. So for example, with ACLs, we tend to see a lot of patellar tendonitis issues. And with the KT, we can add in training to protect against that as we go through our progressions of ACL things like squatting and getting back into high-level running and things like that. And so it's nice to have that protective measure ahead of time so that we can kind of negate all those negative issues that pop up in a normal rehab plan. The favorite thing is that the guys can come in and do it themselves. We all like to respect each other's time, and so if I'm taking 20-30 minutes to set something up every single guy, I lose a lot of time throughout the day, but I can teach these guys how to run their own tests and run their own training in about 5 minutes, and then they can come in and do it on their own, and then I can just collect and look at the data after. I'm excited to see how big this is really going to get. I mean, this has been a huge blessing for us, and I'm kind of excited to get in on the ground floor and hopefully just keep progressing as time goes and use this more and more.